Hey guys, it's Danny, and we just wrapped up a Facebook Live where we did salmon in the cast iron skillet, and I also chatted about what kind of salmon you want to choose and what type of salmon you want to avoid. So as always, I wanted to share it with you guys here as well in case you are not on Facebook. Enjoy. Hello, hello. We are live here on Facebook Fridays with Danny Speaks. Clean and delicious. Hello, my friends. As you guys come on, let's do as we always do. Come on down into the comments below. Say hello. Let me know who's watching. Let me know where you're watching from. And as I go along, please put your questions, your thoughts, your ideas, your tips, your tricks, and your comments in the comment section below so that we can try to get them answered for you. And make sure that you're giving me some thumbs ups and some hearts if you're liking something, so this way I know which parts you guys are really interested in and which parts you aren't. And plus, I mean, come on, it's fun to get those little guys flying across the screen. Anyway, so today I was like gonna do something real simple. I mentioned it to you guys last time, and that was how I love to cook. I'm obsessed with my new cast iron skillet, and I'm always cooking my salmon in the cast iron skillet along with other things. So a lot of people asked if I would show you guys how to do that. So I'm going to show you how I do that, but it's so crazy easy that I thought we could also use this time to chat about salmon in general and how to decide what type of salmon to buy and what to avoid, because sometimes it feels like we have to be like scientists in the grocery store. There's so much to know. At least that's how I feel. So first things first, I'm going to get my phone set up here. Give me 1 second, just so I can see what's going on. And then I'm going to decide if we're going to cook the salmon first or talk about the salmon first. What do you think we should do?
Talk about it.
Yeah? Okay, we're going to talk.
The cooking's really easy, right?
The cooking is so easy. Okay. All right, guys, I see you guys all coming in. Tamara, Jarlene, Diane, Erica, Rachel. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. Okay, so let's just get, I know your husband's obsessed with the cast iron skillet. Melissa, it's new to me, and I've just bought it like in the last month or so, and I'm recently obsessed myself because it makes such great depth of flavor and great crusts and crispy edges, and I'm finding it to be a really easy way to create like a comfort food experience for the winter, but still eat good high quality food and keep it clean and delicious. So let me show you guys. I already cooked some salmon in the skillet just because I wanted to. I had a lot of things I wanted to talk about. So this is the salmon that's already cooked, and these are two completely different types of salmon, but to the point. It's so simple, like it's literally salt and pepper, a little bit of butter, depending on the salmon I use, and that's it. So we're gonna get back to that. But what I think is more important to talk about before we cook is salmon and what the heck kind of salmon to buy, because it literally can be like mind-bogglingly annoying. This is what happens is there's certain salmons you can buy that are so nutritious and so good for you and so body friendly, right? And then there's other ones that you should really completely avoid because they're very contaminated and they're not good for the environment, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's almost like it's frustrating because it's like one food, you want to just be like salmon, good, yes or no, right? But of course it's like a spectrum, like everything in life. So let's chat about salmon. So here are the basic things. Let's show the colors of these salmons. First things first, okay? Starting on the, first of all, I'm curious if anybody could tell what these are, but I won't wait for that. I'll just jump in. But okay, so this salmon over here, okay, this is a farm-raised Atlantic Norwegian salmon, okay? And this is the lowest quality salmon you can buy. And what you will notice immediately is the fatty striations, is that the word? That go through the salmon. Now, taste-wise, this salmon is delicious. It's very buttery, it's very rich, but it's actually, while it is packed with healthy fats, it also has a lot of fats that aren't the best fats, and it has less protein, okay? And that color, normally the salmon, when it's farmed, is actually gray, and then they inject it with natural coloring. So, little FYI, and that basically goes for not all Atlantic salmon, which we're gonna talk about. Then over here, I have wild sockeye salmon. This is like the leanest, richest, most nutrient-dense salmon you're gonna get. It has a short lifespan, so they say that's good because it doesn't like absorb a lot of toxins, basically, because its life is short, and it gets a lot of exercise because these are those cold water salmon that are always swimming up up the stream, which is why they're so lean. Isn't that interesting? They exercise a lot, and so they're really lean. But you taste a big difference when you cook them because they are very lean. But the fat they do have is concentrated omega-3 fatty acids. And you can see that it has this dark, rich coral color. And that is because it eats a natural diet. It's eating the, what is it, crustaceans in the ocean. The coral is actually eating all those colors and foods and vegetables of the ocean, which is giving it that natural, beautiful, rich coral color. Whereas if the farm salmon, it's getting a little bit of help from natural colorings, okay? Very interesting, isn't it? And then this guy over here, it looks a little messy on top because it had bones in it that I had to pull out. This is king salmon. Now, king salmon is also wild, and it goes by the name of Chinook salmon as well, okay? So people say that in the world of wild salmons, that king salmon is like the most, from a palate standpoint, the most delectable because it has more fat than, say, the sockeye salmon, but not as much fat as the Atlantic salmon. Is your head spinning yet? So let's simplify, right?
Take it away. Yeah, what are the takeaways?
Here's your takeaways. Here are the takeaways, okay? What you want to look for when you're buying your salmon is what we want: wild, Pacific, and or Alaskan salmon. Those are always going to be good, high quality salmon sources. And that's one of the reasons, guys, I also love canned salmon. If you guys like canned salmon, it's a really easy, convenient way, a lot less expensive to get this salmon into your life. So this is actually my kids' lunch boxes today. That's why it's out. The salmon that you want to avoid or double check is the farm-raised salmons. Now here's the thing, not all farm-raised salmon is bad or needs to be avoided. You need to use your app. We've talked about this before. It's called, what is it called?
Monterey.
The Monterey Bay Seafood Watch. And you can get an app right on your phone. That's what I did when I went to the store this morning. And it will literally tell you, you can put in the type of salmon and where it's from, and it will tell you best choice, good choice, avoid. So at the salmons I have here, both of the wild salmons were best choices, and this particular Atlantic salmon was actually avoid. And that's because it's Norwegian. It's from Norway, and apparently of all Atlantic salmons, Norwegian salmon is one of the ones that is the worst to eat. So I bought a small piece just so we can see it and see the difference, and I wanted you guys to see the price differences too. So the Norwegian salmon was $12.99. The wild sockeye salmon was $15.99.
A pound.
A pound, I'm sorry. And then the king salmon was $24.99 a pound. So super interesting, right? I think that's interesting. Okay, now let's talk about cooking in our beloved cast iron.
Why don't you go through some questions? There's some questions.
Oh, are there questions? Okay, guys, let's do a couple questions. You can tell the farm-raised salmon from the rest. You absolutely can, Melissa. And here's the thing: I think that if you don't know all this, right, from a flavored standpoint, I think the farm-raised is delicious because it's like super rich and fatty. To me, it's like the red meat of fish. Like if you wanted something rich and fatty, like a steak, salmon could do that same. It give you that same experience, but that's only those farm-raised salmons, right? When you start moving to the wild salmon, they are definitely leaner. And they don't have the same mouth feel, but still delicious. I think if somebody is used to eating the more traditional salmon, though, there's an adjustment. There's an adjustment period. Okay. Can you use a cast iron on a glass flat top?
Flat top stove.
I don't know. I don't see why not. I mean, it could scratch your stove.
I wouldn't.
Oh, my husband says he wouldn't.
It's too heavy.
I'm gonna look it up. Let's Google it after. Would you please comment on fresh salmon from Costco? I love them. Just want to know if they are the right kind. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know. I would have to see the bag. If you have the bag in your house right now, go peek at it and tell me what type of salmon it's from or where it's from. Any information that it has on the bag, put it down here, and then I can give you a better answer as to whether or not it's the kind of salmon you want. This salmon. Oh, I get so excited, guys. Slow down. Okay. Haley, where can we get a good skillet? I'm going to pull mine out of the oven. Target, you can get them on Amazon too. Lodge, it's a Lodge skillet. It's $20, and that's the one I bought because a friend recommended it, and I think it's great. It hasn't let me down. Okay, I think we've got. If I can't afford the more expensive, is the Atlantic still a good choice? Okay, so it's so funny. Me and my friend Lisa, we were just talking about this the other day because.
Tag us on.
What I would say normally, I mean, when I'm not hands deep researching this stuff, I tend to be more like, yes, you know, You know, we all have to make the best decisions we can. But then when I really get into it, like I have the past couple days with the salmon, and I'm researching it, and I'm reading what they say about that Norwegian Atlantic salmon, then I feel like, you know what, you're better off splurging for the better salmon and eating it less often than buying the lower quality salmon and eating it more often. Now, with that being said, there are Atlantic salmons that are lower cost points. You just have to figure out which is which. This is where it takes a little elbow work. But like my friend and I were discussing this, and I feel like at the end of the day, you have to pick and choose your battles. And if you don't want to pick this battle, then don't pick it and just move on and don't stress, right? Because stress is also toxic to our body, right? So it's like whatever food choices you make, wherever you decide to put your time and energy, decide to feel good about it and let it be. Like there was a long time in my life where I didn't want to know about organic and not organic. I just wasn't ready to take it on and I didn't sweat it. And then when I was ready to start introducing it, I did, right? So when you're ready to want and implement things, do it. And if you're not ready to do that, then just enjoy what you have and don't worry about it. Think that there are people that probably never eat an organic this or that or a wild this or that their entire lifespan and live to be 120 years old and vice versa, right? So who really knows? I think one of the most important things is that we feel good about our decisions and we don't live in the realm of guilt or shame or, you know, fear with it all. So, okay, let's get to cooking, y'all. You'll have to watch Atlantic Wild Seafood. They actually keep fish. Yeah, see you guys, there's so much information. Okay, so this is what I do when I cook in my cast iron skillet. First thing I do is I preheat my oven, so my cast iron skillet is in there right now, and I let the pan heat in the oven from the beginning so it's nice and hot when it comes through, when I'm ready to put my food in it. That ensures that you're gonna get a nice crispy edge on your salmon. Like that's that locked in pan sear. And for the wild salmons, like the skin gets nice and crispy, and we love eating the skin in our house, especially when it's crispy. So let me get my pan out. And also, guys, when you work with your cast iron skillet, you get like a free workout. No, you can stay here because I'm going to bring it right here. Okay. They're heavy. Oh, good Lord. All right, so it's smoking a little when it comes out of the oven. That's because a seasoned cast iron skillet has some oil on it. I usually use coconut oil. Elizabeth, yes, I do. We'll chat about that in a minute. So what I like to do is I take my salmon and I go right into the pan, skin side down. I don't add any extra oil because you don't need it. See, it starts to shrink immediately. See that? Oh, I wish I could fit them all. Okay, so into the pan they go. Then I season them generously with salt and pepper. Okay, so you want to salt the top. This, I'm using a kosher sea salt. And you guys know that I love kosher salt because it's nice, and see how it's got those big granules? I love that. Okay, so season the top. And then a little bit of pepper. This is all I do. Now, here's the little FYI, and this is totally optional. But because these both are the wild salmons, because they are a lot leaner and they don't get that same buttery feel, I like to add a little extra fat to them because that always helps. I like it, and it makes my kids more inclined to eat it as well. So usually what I'll do is I take a little bit of my butter, and you guys know I'm a big fan of the pasture-raised butter. Okay, that's a lot, but we're gonna separate it. And you just kind of dap it over the top. One. It's really soft. Ugh. Oh my gosh. All right, you guys know where I'm going with this. Okay, so that's gonna melt over the top. And it just adds a little bit of extra richness to the fish that's quite a bit leaner than the other type of salmon. Okay, so once you got a little bit of butter on there, I pop this in the oven and then we'll chat about how long I cook it for. It's a workout. Those are gonna cook at two totally different times because now,
how long did you put it in for?
General rule, my oven is at 425. General rule of thumb is 4 to 6 minutes for every ½ inch of salmon you have. So however thick it was. Now let me show you guys this. This is the sockeyed wild salmon that I cooked up before. I shouldn't have put that in there, right? This I literally cooked for 4 minutes, and this was the bigger king salmon, and I cooked this one for about 7 minutes. So, and let me show you what that got us to, okay? So, you can see how, this only cooked for 4 minutes, guys. Can you see this? but you can see it's still nice and pink. I mean, it's such a pink, beautiful pink color. I'll tell you now, if you're working with wild salmon like that, the kiss of death would be to overcook it. So I said pull it back like that to 4 minutes and then 30-second increments, okay? But think, half an inch, 4 to 6 minutes. And then this guy's a little bit thicker, right? So let's see how this turned out. Oh, beautiful. You see it's nice and pink and moist in the middle. Can you see it? Should I move this? Okay. And delish. So the king salmon, definitely moister because it's a little more fat in there. That's what it tastes like. But my point, guys, this is such a fast and simple dinner you can make in no time at all. And what I love to do is if I'm making this, I'll make a couple extra pieces and then leave it in the fridge because it makes a great head start ingredient because salmon is delicious, cold, hot, or room temperature. It's kind of like an egg. It's delicious for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And you could turn it into a salad. You could put it on a piece of toast with a little bit of cream cheese and some onion. You could a lot of times we'll just flake it off and like put it on a little, like a toast point. But point being, it's simple, it's so good for us, and it's so delicious. I made some this past week, and I just made a simple Brussels, actually, you know what Brussels sprouts I made? The ones I shared with you guys, the best Brussels sprouts ever, with this salmon, and everybody in the family gobbled it up. So, let's see what y'all got going on here. Love mixing it into my scrambled eggs. Bernadette said that. That's a great tip. I don't think I've done that. I'm so doing that. Missing the beginning. So you only eat wild caught salmon? In a nutshell, yes. There are Atlantic salmons that are much better choices. I use the app Monterey Bay Seafood Watch. They have a free app. You can download it to your phone, and whatever grocery store you're at, you can enter the fish that you are curious about, and it will tell you where it is on the scale of like good, go for it, not so good, avoid it, or good every now and then. So it's a great tool to have with you. Okay, guys. Some of you guys are asking about the cast iron skillet. I'm actually going to do a video on this, but in a nutshell. And hi, Kathy. I'm happy that you got here live. In a nutshell, here's how I clean it when it rusts. It never rusts anymore because I'm so good at cleaning it. But when it rusts, you take a little kosher salt. You need like a good granule salt. You put it in your pan, you take a wet towel, and you rub the salt around, and that salt literally cleans all the rust off of your pan. Then you rinse it under some cold water, put the pan on the stovetop, turn the heat on until all the water evaporates. Takes like 2 minutes. Then you take your oil. I usually do coconut oil. You could do any oil that lights you up. And then you rub it all over the pan, inside and outside. Pop it into a 300, I have a timer on. Pop it into a 350 degree oven for an hour. And your pan is re-seasoned, set, and it will look like a brand new pan. I'm going to do a video on that because a lot of people have been asking me, but that's the general formula, guys. Okay. All right, so that's really it. That's what we've got here today, my friends. So I'm going to hang out for another minute, see if anybody has any more thoughts or questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. Short and sweet today. My husband's worried about the stove. Okay.
Are you going to bring it up?
Erica says, loving this video. Never knew there was so much to know about salmon. I know. I feel the same way. And I feel like it's a little overwhelming at first, but once you wrap your head around the general concepts, it's like, okay, it's not that bad. You can figure it out. And I have a video from like 8 years ago. I was pregnant with my daughter. And we did a Salmon 101 where I really dove into exactly what we're talking about here. I'm going to post that on Facebook here for you guys so you can see it as well. If you're curious about everything I was talking about today, it's in a more organized fashion, so maybe it won't be as confusing. Is frozen okay? Frozen is totally okay. Again, it's all about a lot of times when you buy seafood at the grocery store, it's previously frozen. So frozen's totally fine. Elaine, I put it in the oven. It stayed in there the whole time the oven heated up, and then like an extra 5 minutes. If using frozen salmon, do you thaw it first? I have done both. I've done both. I will say it's never as good if you cook it freezer right to the pan, but it can be done. Ideally, you should defrost it first, just from a flavor perspective, so that water evaporates and gets done. Not evaporates, drips off. because ultimately if you're cooking it frozen, there's a lot more water, and so you're gonna get more of a steaming effect happening. Hello, Victoria. Lots of Swiss love to you. Thank you, Nadine. What are your favorite ways to use canned? Do we have a video on that? How we use canned salmon? One of my favorite ways to use it, like tuna. That's what tuna. I put in my kids' lunchbox
today. Tuna salad, but it's salmon salad.
Oh, boy, smoky.
Put the fan on.
Guys, it gets a little smoky in here. Should we open the oven?
Sure.
Coming over. Okay, look at that. Can we discuss, please? Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. So there it is. That's your finished salmon, guys. And you can see that that little bit of extra butter over the top is gonna melt into the fish, give it a little bit of extra richness, and it's gonna be delicious. All right, so any other thoughts or questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to check afterwards. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys back here next week for Facebook Friday. Bye, guys. Looks good, right?